Subscribe to this podcast to get exclusive access to the after show Shooting the Breeze. Welcome to Cool Explorations. I'm your host, Tony Peters. Today we're going to be interviewing author Daisy Paige, and it's going to be one of my few audio-only interviews to protect her identity and the identity of people in the book. And she's going to talk about her testimony, the abuse and trauma that she's been through, and the strength that God has provided her to get through this entire journey and how it's made her a stronger person as a result. Hello everyone, welcome to Cool Explorations. I'm your host, Tony Peters. Today we are interviewing author Daisy Paige, who wrote a book, Unexpected Moments. And she's going to start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself so that we can get a feel for who we're listening to.
Hi, I'm from a small town called Anna, Texas, and I've grown up here all my life. I've moved away a few times, but every time some sort of tragedy or trauma always brings me back home no more than 4.5 years later. So I feel that God really wants me here with my family and friends to feel safe and secure. I've got 3 grown children, and I could not be more proud of them. They have made me such a proud parent, especially through everything they've seen and they've witnessed. And I've been happily married for 12 years to an amazing man that I've known since I was 5 years old. So we've known each other for 44 years now, quite a long time. And so he's been there throughout my life and knows my little life stories. Met him in kindergarten when I was in kindergarten. He was in 2nd grade, I believe. And what's really funny is first of all, I asked him to the Sadie Hawkins dance in the 10th grade in high school. And he told me no. He said he didn't do those kinds of things. And I could not get away fast enough. I was so embarrassed. But then I married and had 3 children, and we'll get to the rest of that in a moment. But 2000 we divorced, and he came to my house, and he asked me out, and I said, no, you had your chance. In high school, you blew it. So we went to the grocery store, and I knew his mom, and she was in front of us in line, and she says to the cashier, well, don't they make such a cute couple? And I said, Trish, we are not a couple. We are just friends. And she said, well, one of these days, Mom knows best. I was like, whatever. And 8 years later, we ended up together. And 2 years after that, we married. She was the happiest woman in the world. She told me he waited for me and that she told me it was meant to be. He'd never been married before, so he didn't have any kids. And that's what she said. He waited for you. You were his one and only, and he's always loved you. I've known that for a long time. So I guess in real life, in true life, moms know best.
Yeah, that sounds like my stepmom with my wife, because my wife and I met when we were in grade 3, and we didn't really become friends until high school, and then we just had all the same spare periods, and we had a lot of the same classes together, so we just ended up hanging out a lot, became really good friends. And she ended up working with my stepmom at one of the shops in town here, and my stepmom absolutely loved her. And I actually worked just down the other end of the mall from her during high school, so I would go and visit on my breaks and talk, and my stepmom kept saying, you should really ask her out, you should really ask her out. And I'm like, we're just friends. I don't want to date until after I'm done college. I want to focus on school. And then halfway through grade 12, I got to the point I'd already asked her to prom, or graduation as we call it here. And she halfway through, I'm just like, I don't want to lose this one. I don't want to miss this chance. So I ended up asking her out, and we got married a couple years later.
Oh.
And then we went and we moved away so we could both finish our college where we up in Saskatoon, which is 3 hours away from where we are now. And yeah, 2 lovely kids now, and we're happily married. She's definitely been my rock, got me through a lot. So
How long have y'all been married?
just 15 years this year, so it was
Quite a while
Yeah,
though.
we wanted to go on a big vacation, but money just wasn't there for it. So we're hoping with my wife's bonus, maybe we'll go on a family vacation. We want to take the kids somewhere with beaches and everything like that. So um, that's the plan. So I understand your story there in terms of that. It
That's neat.
yeah. So yeah, moms do know best. They really
Yeah.
do. So why don't you tell us your testimony, some of the trouble you've gone through, some of the traumas, and how God has brought you to where you are right now.
Well, about the age of 8, I became a Christian, and my stepmom was the pianist at church, and so I went to church every Sunday morning and Sunday night and Wednesday. Sang in the children's choir, participated in Bible drills, and went to church camp every summer. I actually won second place in the state Bible drill in Texas.
Cool.
The only person that beat me was a preacher's son, but I knew the Bible from front to back. I was a really strong Christian. I spent my spare time reading and doing Bible devotions and Bible studies. It's just I loved everything there was to know. I wanted to learn about about Christ, and that was my number one goal. And then um, when I was about 9 years old, I started being molested by an immediate family member. That went on for 4.5 years. And in the beginning, my aunt caught it, and it was my brother. She took us down to the living room and she prayed. She prayed about it. She told me later that she thought it was just some childhood curiosity. And then when I was 14, I was raped and um, then drugged by another guy. 9 other girls in my school started having these blackout spells, and it took a couple of months, but they found out that this guy had asked all of 9 of us out, and we turned him down, and so he drugged us. And when the police finally figured it all out, he was killed in a drug raid.
Hmm.
So I just tried to commit suicide at that time. I was just in a deep, dark place, and I thought, God, here I am. I'm trying to be such a strong Christian. Why do I feel that you're not there? Why am I being punished? What have I done to deserve this kind of thing? Those questions that you ask.
Yeah.
So I went into a inpatient mental health center, and the therapist wanted a meeting with my brother and my father. I told them what happened before the drug raid, and I told them that I had been raped. My brother got upset and said he was going to go and find him and kick his butt. I'm like, why are you getting so upset? You did the same thing. He admitted it right there that he did it one time, and that it was just from childhood curiosity. So it was just from something he had heard. He said, you're just getting it mixed up with the rape. It's just all in your head. And my dad didn't believe me either because of what my brother said. So my brother left the room, and the therapist told my dad. She said, "I really believe this is happening. This is not something she's making up." Um, but being his son, I just don't think he could ever admit it. He just denied that he could actually do something like that to his own sister. And after I got out of the hospital, my brother, he said, we lost our mom because of you. If we would have never been born, she wouldn't be dead. And that's why I'm mean to you, and I'm going to continue to be mean to you for that. I was only a young child, so obviously it wasn't my fault that she died, but yet I was being punished by him for her death. And so, yeah, then I ended up pregnant, and my junior summer, I had gotten my mindset, pain. That's all I'm gonna be living for, and if I don't give, it's gonna be taken from me. So, um, I ended up pregnant, and we got married, had three total children, and my husband was very abusive to me. Um, I was with him for 11 years, and finally, one night I was on the computer playing Slingo. I forgot I did have one boyfriend in between the rape and the junior year, and he was very good to me. And I thought in my heart, I don't deserve this, this kindness. He never um, tried to pursue me or anything like that. And I thought, you know what, this is something I don't desire. I don't deserve this goodness, obviously, from all the abuse I've suffered. So I let him go. Well, one night my husband caught me playing Flingo, and I had gotten an email from classmates.com, and it was that old boyfriend. He was trying to reconnect with me. It had been, what, 20 years we had talked. And so we were chatting, and he came in the living room. He goes, "Who are you talking to?" And I was like, "Well, don't get upset because, I haven't talked to him in 20 years. We're just catching up." My father had been murdered by this time. And so I was just catching him up on my father's murder and that sort of thing. And he said, "Who is it?" And I told him it was Wes. That was my ex-boyfriend. He called his girlfriend that he'd been seeing for 2 years behind my back and had her come get him. She said, she's on the computer with her ex-boyfriend. Come get me. And so Wes ended up driving. He lived about 6 hours away. He ended up driving down, helping me and my kids get a 3-bedroom apartment. And everything was great, for a while there. Uh, there were many times during my marriage I prayed to God to bring him back to me, and that I should not have let him go, that he was good to me, and I realized that, and I should not have let him go. So he came back, he helped me, and then one day I came home from work and he was, and I said, "God, why did Wes have to leave?" It really broke my heart. He said, "Daisy, I sent him to you to get you out of a bad situation. If it wasn't for that, you would have stayed in that situation and you would not have gotten out. He had done his job and he had to go." So he was like an earth angel to me. And after that, I thought, I need to change. I'm going to join the army and make a life for myself and my kids because I could barely make ends meet on an $8.50 pay, an hour. And my husband paid child support, so I said, "I'm just going to join the army. I know they'll take care of me and my children." And unfortunately, that didn't work out either. I busted my ACL and had to come back home after physical therapy. I had met someone in physical therapy. We talk about Christianity and religion and everything. We got really close in our talks and physical therapy. He lived in upstate New York, so I thought, I want to go there. I've always wanted to see that beautiful country. I've heard it was really beautiful up there. So we arranged for me after he got out to go visit. Well, I liked it so much, and the night before I left home, come back to Texas, he said, "We've grown really close, and I would like for us to be a couple." And I thought, this is a nice guy. It seems like God put him in my path. I'm going to give this a shot. 4.5 years, once again, everything was smooth sailing. He was laid back, never laid a hand on me. Then one day, we get into an argument about our dogs over all things. And he hit me over the head with a ceramic bowl, knocks me out. I woke up long enough for my best friend to get there that I met up there. And once she got there, I guess I knew my kids would be okay, and I lost consciousness and woke up 2 days later in the hospital with her saying, "Good morning, sunshine," and, said, "How long have I been out?" She said, "2 days." And I'm like, "What? Where are my kids?" That's what I thought. She said, "Don't worry, the pastor and his family, so they're in good hands." Well, I was in the hospital for almost a month because I fractured my skull and I had cerebellum fluid leaking from my brain. So every time I sit up, I would black out from the pressure on my brain.
Mm.
And I got out and I still had to wait a while for victims advocate to get everything worked out so they could get me back to Texas. And I ended up developing traumatic stress disorder because I'm always constantly looking over my shoulder, wondering where he is because I bailed him out of jail the night that he attacked me. And finally, this happened in October, and it was the first part of December I got to go home. But before Thanksgiving, the church flew my two younger children back home and they were with their grandma. And my oldest daughter stayed with me and helped me to, take care of them and help them back. So we get ready to go whenever they said, "Okay, we got it." The U-Haul. They flew somebody up from Texas and he drove me home. He was like a brother to me. He drove us home. My husband now, he's been in my life off and on several times. He helps me unload my U-Haul, and we ended up um, going to the movies a couple weeks later or so and started dating. And we're married 12 years now. But that's the abuse. It's a
So
lot of,
it is a lot for you to take in mentally, emotionally, physically. And you decided to put that into a book. What brought that about, that decision to put all this into a book?
well, about a little over a year ago, I was diagnosed with a rare neurological terminal condition called MSA. It is so rare that only 4 out of every 100,000 people in the US are diagnosed with it. Um, I had a dream or a vision. God told me, you don't have much time left on earth, but you got to tell your story first from the beginning. Well, I didn't know how I was going to do that. And this past October 21, I was supposed to go visit my friend in Vermont, the one from upstate New York. She moved to Vermont, and she ended up with COVID, so I didn't get to go and see her. Instead, my husband and I were driving by after physical therapy, which I do quite often for my condition. Um, we we noticed on the marquee at the big church in town that Kirk Cameron was going to be. They are doing one of his campfire revivals. So he asked me, "Do you want to go there since you can't go to Vermont?" I'm like, "Do I? He was my celebrity heartthrob growing up. Of course I do." So I got home and I called my stepmom, um, who actually I found out when I was 9 years old was not my real mom, by the way. Um, that was another kind of life shocking thing, but she's been my mom since I was 8 and the only mother I've ever known. So she is the mother and she's still my mother. Um, she went with me and she's a nurse. She didn't have time to go home and change clothes before she went with me to the event. So she's pushing me around in my wheelchair in a nurse's uniform. So I look like I've got my little private nurse here at the event. I got VIP tickets for us. And so we have question and answer and photo time before the event gets started. So we're sitting up at the front row and he's asking for anybody has a question. And I raised my hand and I put it back down because I got shy. This guy about middle row, he raised his hand And Kirk says, "Yes, sir." And he says, "The lady down there on the end has a question for you." And I'm like, talk about putting me on the spot here. So I said to Kirk, Kirk, I first asked him, do you have plans to do a Seavers reunion for Growing Pains? And he said, I don't think passed away, but Joanna Kearns and Candace, I mean, not Candace, oh, her name's something, but anyway, the girls, DJ, that would play DJ, and Stephanie, we're planning on maybe one day doing something. And I said, and the other thing, Kirk, I had your posters all over my room. I was a huge fan. You were my celebrity crush, which I know you were millions of girls. But I wrote you a letter, asked you for an autographed picture, and I gave you 3 months. You never sent me one, so I ripped all your posters down off my walls, and I was done. I was so heartbroken. And he said, I said, why didn't you send me that picture? And he said, I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you tonight. So then it was picture time. And I was going to wait because I'm in a wheelchair for everybody to go up on stage and get their time. And I was going to see if he would come down and take his picture with me. Well, the man that raised his hand and another man came over to me and asked me if they wanted me to put my wheelchair on stage. And I was like, you don't have to do that. And they said, no, we want to. So I said, okay. And they let me go in line in front of them too. So I was like, okay. When I got up to Kurt, I had a defeatmsa.org bracelet, and I gave that to him so he could research the condition that I have. And I asked him if he could help me out of my wheelchair to take a picture. That I didn't want one with him in my wheelchair. So he said, "Can you get up?" And I said, "You help me and hold on to me. I can." So he did. Took a picture with him, and oh, I had the biggest grin on my face. I was still starstruck at 48 years old.
Yeah, I bet.
Um, he goes, "After the event, we will talk a little more." So I said, "Okay." So then, after the event, he comes up to me in my wheelchair, and I got him to autograph my ticket. He said, "So the disease is terminal?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Can I pray for you?" And I said, "Absolutely." He knelt down and grabbed both my hands and he prayed for me. After that, I told him what God had told me. He said, "Well, how do you plan on telling your story?" I said, I don't know. I don't know what I should do. He said, "Why don't you write a book?" I said, "Okay, I've never wrote anything but a poem, one poem in my whole life." He goes, "You can do it." He goes, "Keep me updated. Here's my email. Keep me updated." So I kept him updated, what chapter I was on, everything. The next day I started writing. Every morning I prayed to God, give me the words to write. And I devoted about 3, maybe 4 hours a day to write. And after proofreading it and sending it to editors, I told him I was done. And he said, "Send me the manuscript." So I did, and he read it. He sent me back a forward. So he forwarded my book for me. Very nice forward that he wrote in there, actually. I had
Yeah.
looked at other forwards that he had written, and they're only like a couple of sentences long. And Tony, you've read the book, so you see it's like a full page that he
Yeah, yeah, he
does
really
in
did.
there.
Yeah, it was
And he told me
it
that
was good.
I inspired him, and I'm like, what? He's the one that inspired and motivated me to write the book. But that's how the book came about, and that's my Kirk Cameron created it for me.
Yeah, and you called it Unexpected Moments. How did you settle on that title?
Everything in my book was unexpected. It was all unexpected moment. Every bit of it, and everyone has unexpected moments. So that's what God, I believe, wanted me to name the book. And the cover, my daughter painted the cover for me, and it shows um, all of, like, my hurdle to begin with, windy roads, rocky paths, broken broken bridge over here, and then I make my way up here to the cross where Jesus takes all my pain away. And that's, I believe, I don't have much time, so I have to share my story to inspire others who are being abused to know that they're not alone. God's always with you. You just have to pray to Him, and He may not answer our prayers like we want them to be answered, but He knows what we need. He
Hmm.
knows what door to open and what path to lead us down. And I feel that I went through all my traumas and all my life events, my unexpected moments, to make me strong enough to face this rare disorder because it's horrible. And within, I'd say, I got diagnosed about last June. So, um, about 3 months before that, I was already having to be in a wheelchair, um, at times because of I couldn't walk. I've been physical therapy for 15 months now, and I still can't walk. But it affects your autonomic systems that your brain, regulates, like your breathing, circulatory system. I have blood pressure issues if I do stand up. My blood pressure drops, and I pass out sometimes. Your urinary system, your digestive system, all those systems become affected, and you hurt. Oh, it's severe pain. You have like what they call coat hanger syndrome in your neck, in your shoulders, and your back, where it's like Charlie horses constantly. It's awful pains. I get Botox shots in my neck every 3 months for that. Um, I have a hospital bed now that I have to sleep in, and hospice is actually coming out next week.
Yeah, it's hard to deal with that kind of stuff, especially even for your family to watch you go through that. Um, I know with my own health issues, my wife really struggles with a lot of that. So I understand exactly where you're coming from there. Um,
It makes you feel like a burden, doesn't it?
it does. And you have to really watch, I think, what your thoughts, because the devil really does play on those.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
he does. He tries to tell me all the time, you're not worth it. You
yeah,
take your
yeah.
own life, things like that. But I have a Christian therapist I've been speaking to for 5 years, and her name is Jennifer, and she's another one of my earth angels. If it was not for her, I wouldn't be here. She has pulled me out of some dark, dark times. When I wrote my book, it was therapeutic, but yet I would have some difficult chapters, and it seems like every time, like God timed it just right. When I would have a difficult chapter, then the next day would be my time to have a session with her. So it helps me get a
Hmm.
lot of that out.
Yeah, Christian
And
therapists are very important. Um, I
yes,
I have my own Christian therapist, and she definitely has been a godsend. She's been there and got me through some tough times as well. So anybody out there who is afraid to get counseling, don't be afraid. These counselors are very helpful, especially Christian counselors, and they know what they're doing, and God speaks and works through them. Uh,
yes, she told me in the beginning, she said, I'm going to give you 6 sessions at no cost. And after that, we'll figure out a pay. When we got to the 6th visit, I said, how much are we going to start? Am I going to need to pay you? And she said, nothing. She said, God told me that I need to take care of you and put you under my wings. He said, you're very special. And that I just need to be here for you. And so for 5 years, she hasn't charged me a penny. She's been taking care of me, and she told me, God put me in your path and put you in mine.
yeah, that's incredible. What charity are you supporting through the sales of your books? I know that is all going to charity to help out.
Yes, I'm giving 10% of my proceeds to the charity, and I have the link in the book, so readers, if they want to donate, they can too. But it's called Defeat. The charity is defeatmsa.org/donate hyphen to hyphen US/.
Perfect. And where do they find your book online?
It's a very long link, but you can also find it on Facebook. If you go to Daisy Page Author and you follow me, you'll have that link on there. But I'll give it to you as well if you want it
Yep.
to put on the show link. It's at xleaders.com bookstore 838-618 unexpected moments. So it's a very long link. Be best just for them to click on it.
Yeah, I'll probably go to your Facebook page and I'll find it there, and I'll just post it in the description for everybody so they can find it. Uh, so God has brought you through all of this. Looking back now, how can you see him working throughout your life, and how has that made you stronger in the end?
Well, when I did pray for him, like I said, there was one instance after the divorce I couldn't provide Christmas presents for my children. And I said, God, $8.50 an hour. My children know what Christmas is about, but I can't keep up with the bills. I'm even behind on the bills, so I can't provide Christmas for them. And I wanted to see the joy on their faces. So I prayed every night, please let me be able to provide some sort of Christmas for them. One day there was a knock at the door, and by the time I got to the door, there wasn't anyone there, but there was a bicycle and about 3 big trash bags just full of gifts and clothes, toys and things. And I was like, that's God. He provided, He answered my
Mhm.
questions. So He showed up for me. And then He brought Wes to me and helped me get out of that bad situation. He's right. I would not have gotten out of that because I wanted so badly to keep my family together. And I know at this time with this condition that I have, my ex-husband did pass away. But if we were still together, he would have left me. He wouldn't. He'd be like, "I'm not taking care of you. There's no way I'm doing this."
Mhm.
My husband now is godsend. We've been together 12 years. He doesn't work. I'm 100% reliable on him. So he has brought him to me to help me make it through this and my strength that I have to make me through this.
Yeah, and God does put people in your lives at the right moment, and money. Uh, I was telling you before the show, he's provided just at the right time when we've struggled. So it's
And
God has a plan.
he's done that with money recently. I don't know, have you heard of those MediShares insurances where they don't really pay for your visits. They just like give you a discount on your doctor's or specialist visits, that sort of thing.
Mm.
And they tell me that they're major medical and they're going to cover 70% of my bills. And it ends up being a total lie. I've been got twice by one of those kind of companies. And the last one, they refunded me my money back.
Oh wow.
I do have Blue Cross Blue Shield now. So, and it's only $55 a month compared to $390 a month for these MediShare plans. So God provided me insurance and the refund so I can start paying some of these medical bills off because I was in such stress about how am I going to continue going to physical therapy. That they're charging me $1,500 now because in back pay from what I owe. But they're working with me. They're going to give me cash discounts because I didn't have insurance. Um, my doctors are giving me cash visit discounts and working on my bills. So everybody's working with me, and I know that God's doing that, and He provided that extra money for me to be able to get caught up on these bills. So
Yeah. God's amazing. He answers prayer and blesses us in so many ways.
He
even
really does.
even in our darkest times here. Yeah. What
Um,
did Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know you've read the poem because it's in my book, but it really speaks to me and it speaks about my circumstances in life. And it, I think, could speak to other people if you don't mind if I read that real quick.
Yeah, you go right ahead. Yeah.
And it's called Eternal Love. Endless days, sleepless nights, as we go through our constant fights. Do we really get what we see, or is it totally up to me? Struggling through our trying times, burdened by the price of crimes. Truly, as each day ends, know that God's your only friend. As footprints in the sand did say, He really carries us all the way. Know this, for it is up to you. He already knows what you should do. Find your faith from heaven above, then you will have eternal love.
Yeah, it's beautiful and definitely does speak exactly to what I think a lot of people are dealing with in their lives and have dealt with. And um, it's important to remember who our strength is and where it comes from. Uh, I'd like you to just leave us with one piece of advice for someone who's stuck in an abusive situation and they kind of feel trapped. What advice would you have for someone like that?
First of all, I tell them to pray for God to send them someone to help them get out of this situation. Um, Maybe they have a close friend that they can talk to. There's always the domestic violence centers for wherever you live. Um, I know calling 911 can seem scary, but there's always 911. And if if it's that bad, you need to get out. You need to call 911 and get out right away. And when you do, they'll put you in a woman's shelter for a little while. They'll help you find housing, and help you get on your feet, and help you support your children, help you with everything, any paperwork or anything you need. But the most important thing is don't feel you have to stay. Don't feel that you're trapped. It's not worth your life. It's worth living, and you need to continue on living because life is way too short.
Yeah, and prayer is a key part of that, and prayer for strength, because yeah, it takes courage to get out of a situation like that for sure. And a lot of
Yes, it
people don't
does.
feel they have that courage, and that's where prayer can really help because God will give you that courage, and
He will.
he'll bring about the right situation or person into your life to rescue you. So I like that.
Yes.
Th-
Just keep your eyes open and your ears open and watch and listen for the signs because you don't want to miss them because he will send you signals.
yeah, exactly. So thank you for coming on and sharing with us. It's been a real blessing. Um, all the best with your health struggles. I know all too well how those go. So um,
And thank you
God
for having
bless.
me, Tony. I've been looking forward to this interview for so long. So thank you for having me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for listening to Cool Explorations. You've just been listening to author Daisy Paige speak about a lot of the trauma that she's been through in her life and the abuse and how God has given her strength to get through these situations and really helped her grow as a result, as well as her book Unexpected Moments. And you can reach out to me if you'd like through tpeters745 at gmail.com about anything, whether it's this interview or any other interviews, and we'll get back to you. Well, I have just been blessed with so many people who are requesting to be on the show, and I'm impressed with how many people want to share their testimonies or what they're doing for the Lord right now. If I haven't got back to you, I promise I will get back to you. I look forward to speaking with each of you and interviewing you, and keep tuning into the show. There's lots of new people that are coming on here, and if you're considering wanting to come on the show, just shoot me an email at tpeters745 at gmail.com, and I will get back to you.